Good morning, everyone. Welcome to chapel. I'm glad that we get to be together today. I know it's not the usual way, the way that we like the most, but we're making the best with what we can, and I'm so glad that we have the opportunity, even in this way, to be together, worshiping and learning about God. Before we do anything else, we always start things off with the national anthem. So I'm going to invite you to stand to your feet as we play O Canada, and then remain standing because after that we're going to move into a time of worship. So stand on up. Don't sit back down yet because we've got some worship coming your way. Last week I gave you some pretty tough dance moves to compete with, so now let's see if you can handle what I'm going to throw at you today. Here we go.
There's no shadow of doubt when we look to you now. The covenant made, fulfilled in your grace. You've proven your love. You are faithful, faithful. All through the ages, through joy and through sorrow. Faithful, faithful. Grace for today and my hope for tomorrow. You are faithful, faithful, faithful. Grace for today and my hope for tomorrow. Faithful, faithful. All through the ages, through joy and through sorrow. Faithful, faithful. Grace for today and my hope for tomorrow. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness.
Please be seated. When we're doing things virtually like this where it's pre-recorded, sometimes it's difficult for us to interact. I'm talking to you, but I don't know, how you're responding, and you can't raise your hand and ask a question. So this next part is to help us feel a little bit more interactive. We are about to play a game. If you're watching the video, you are playing along. All you have to do is watch, listen, and win. That's the most important thing. Let's see if you can do better than your teacher. Here we go.
Thank you. No, please, no, stop. It's too much. Thank you. Okay, for real. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting game. We're revisiting an old classic today. As you can see, I have a large pile of colored blocks here. Your job is to figure out what the thing is that I've created. I'm told that one of these is really easy. It's kind of to get things going. Then the rest of it is going to be really tough. Think you can figure out what all of them are? Let's find out. Number 1. Okay, this is easy. I'll be able to pull this off. Okay, here we go. All right, here it is. What do you think it is? I'm giving you a hint even though I'm holding it. It's a boat, right? You got this is where people go, and then that's the sail right there. I thought it was pretty good. All right, now I'm told that one was the easy one. So after this, it's all gonna get a lot tougher. Round 2. This is hard. I think you'll be able to get this one. All right, here we go. Here it is. Can you tell what it is? It's a trumpet! See, that's where you put your hand. I should have put little stuff here. I thought that was alright. Okay, it's only going to get harder from here. Number 3. Here we go. Okay, let's give it a shot. Well, I can't say I'm proud of it, but this is the best I can come up with. Can you figure out what it is? I'll give you a hint. It's got 2 parts to it. There's this part and this part. And then there's something there for your grandma. And it holds things in it. It's a fridge. Huh? What do you think? I know, I didn't know how to make it. I tried to make the door, and I thought that would be the handle, and then that's the freezer. Give me a break, okay? You're not the one up here. Let's try again. Number 4. I had a feeling that this one was going to come around sooner or later. Alright, I'm going to do my best, but no promises. Together too well, but this is it. What do you think? Now it's kind of hard to guess. I gotta be honest, because this looks like a rocket ship. It's not a rocket ship. I'm gonna you hold it the way it would actually look. I actually figured out now. It's an octopus. See, there's the giant head and the flat top, and then it's got the tentacles. Now I know it has 8 tentacles, but I ran out of pieces. What do you want me to do? Okay, I did the best I could. This is the last one. You haven't got any right yet. Now is your chance. And you're not going to get this one. All right. Here it is. Now, if I can say so myself, I think this is pretty good. Can you figure out what it is? It's a mermaid! See, we got the flowing tail, we got the arms, and we got the beautiful red hair. Not bad, right? I guess that's a necklace, I guess. I didn't know what to do there. Did the best. Well, if you got all of them right, congratulations, you did better than I probably would have. We'll see you guys again for another game real soon.
How did you do? I hope you did pretty well. Hopefully you beat your teacher, but if not, that's okay. There's always next week. This month, we're learning about what it means to be a justice seeker. We've talked a lot about what that means, about how we as Christians are called to go out and do things for God. And not just anything, we're supposed to look for things that are wrong and make them right. If we see someone who's doing the wrong thing, we want to get in there and do something about it. If we see that someone isn't being treated the same way as everyone else, they're not being treated with respect, or maybe they don't have the things that we need, we're called to bring justice to that by making sure that they get the treatment that God wants them to receive. Take a quick look at this short video about kids in a class who see an opportunity to bring justice and fairness to a kid who doesn't have it. That's what being a justice seeker is all about. It's not about revenge, about making sure that you punish people for doing things that you don't like. It's about making sure that people get things that God wants them to have. These days, we see a lot of justice seekers in superhero movies. But how are we supposed to be justice seekers when we don't have superpowers? If you see a bully on the playground, well, they might be a little bit taller than you. How are you supposed to go and talk to them? Maybe there's a grown-up who's doing something they're not supposed to do. How are we supposed to respond to that? It feels sometimes like we are supposed to be justice seekers, but we haven't been equipped, or God hasn't given us the things we need so that we can do that job well. The thing is, that feeling is something that a lot of people feel. We talked earlier this month about Moses and how God had chosen him to go and free the Israelites. Moses was like, me? No way. I don't know. You picked the wrong guy. There's another character in the Bible who is in a very similar situation, and we're about to watch his story. Let's watch it together.
So part of God's story is about a man named Gideon, and it begins like this. Israel, God's special family, had turned against the one real God and worshipped idols. They had forgotten how God had loved and cared for them and needed a reminder that He was the one in charge. So God took away the Israelites' farms for 7 long years. Whenever the Israelites planted crops, God would let another nation called the Midianites sweep through and camp on Israel's land, ruining everything that was growing there. But even though his own family had forgotten him, God still loved them deeply. So, at the end of the 7 years, God appeared to a young Israelite named Gideon. God said He was going to free the Israelites with Gideon's help. Gideon, however, wasn't so sure, so he asked God to prove Himself by performing a series of miracles. Gideon said, "If the fleece is wet with dew in the morning but the ground is dry, then I will know that you're going to help me rescue Israel as you promised." That's what happened. Just to be sure, the next night, Gideon asked God to do the opposite, make the fleece dry and make the ground wet. And God did it. Next, He even sent a sign through an angel. Gideon was finally convinced that God was in his corner, so he called together an army to fight against the Midianites. Now, normally having lots of people is a good thing when you're about to battle, but like I said, God does things a bit differently. He told Gideon that the Israelites had too many soldiers. If they won now, God knew the Israelites would say it was because of their own strength and brag about it. So, God wanted Gideon to have a smaller army. Gideon was nervous, but he did as God asked, which is always a good idea, by the way. He told his men that if they were afraid, they could return home. With that, 22,000 soldiers left, leaving Gideon with about 10,000. For you math whizzes, that's 2/3 of his army just poof, gone. Even after all that, the army was still too big. So God told Gideon to take the soldiers down to the water to drink, and then send home the soldiers who drank out of the stream like dogs. Again, Gideon did what God asked and was now left with only 300 soldiers. God knew Gideon was probably worried, so he told him to sneak down to the enemy camp where Gideon heard soldiers talking about a crazy dream where a loaf of bread rolled into the Midianite camp and over their tent. One soldier said that could only mean that Gideon would triumph over them. Gideon returned to his own camp confident that he would win the battle. He divided his men into 3 groups and gave them each a trumpet and a jar with a torch inside. Not usually what you bring to a fight, but God had a plan. Gideon's army reached the edge of the Midianite camp and then went into action. They blew their trumpets, smashed their jars, and shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" And don't forget, they did all of this without a single weapon in their hands. Terrified, the Midianites fled, accidentally attacking each other as they went. In fact, they ran so far from the battlefield that other Israelites were able to capture and defeat the leaders of the Midianites. With the enemy leaders gone and their army running away, God had saved Israel, just like he said he would. And that's the story of Gideon.
What's so interesting about the story of Gideon is how poor of a choice Gideon was to be the justice seeker and to save the Israelites. You see, at the start of the story when God called Gideon, Gideon was hiding. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't like Samson, who was already going around being really strong and mighty. No, he was hiding, trying to mind his own business. And then when God picked him, he did multiple things to try and say, God, maybe you're not actually asking me. Maybe I'm just imagining this. But God knew that he wanted Gideon. And then, not only did he want Gideon, he wanted just 300 men. He sent so many men away because God didn't want it to look like, oh yeah, Gideon, super strong guy, and an army of super strong men, they came in and they took over and they got the job done. Because then everyone would just think, oh, they just did it on their strength alone. Instead, God picked a weak man and a small group of men, just 300. And he said, with this small group, I'm going to do something incredible. God knew that these weren't the perfect people for the job, and that's exactly why he picked them. Because when he picks people who aren't perfect for the job, he has a chance to show us how perfect he is. There's a verse from the Bible that I want to read to you, and it's found in 2 Corinthians 12:9. Paul was writing about something that God said to him. Here's what it says. But he, God, said to me, my grace is all you need. My power is strongest when you are weak. So I'm very happy to brag about how weak I am. Then Christ's power can rest on me. You see, Paul knew that he wasn't always the guy for the job. In fact, if you know the story of Paul, you know that when he started off, he actually hated Christians. He wanted nothing to do with them. So for him to go around and now say, I'm going to go around helping Christians, he might not have been the best pick for the job. But God knew that by picking an imperfect person, he could show us how perfect God is. In the same way, we might not think that we have everything that we need to get the job done and to be a justice seeker. But boys and girls, God has chosen you regardless of how tall you are, of how old you are, how much money you have, how strong your muscles are. No matter what it is that you've got going on, God has picked you for a very specific task. And guys, he knows the stuff that you're not so good at. But that's okay. God is God. If he wants you to talk to a bully, he'll make a way for it to happen. If he wants you to make a positive change in your classroom, even if you feel like you can't do it, God's going to help you do it. All throughout the Bible, we see God calling people, imperfect people, people who make mistakes, people who aren't very good at stuff. That's the whole Bible. It's filled with people like that. But God always uses them to do incredible, incredible things. So, for the rest of this month, as you think about what it means to be a justice seeker, I want you to remember that God is with you. God equips you to do the jobs that he's called you to do. When we take being a justice seeker seriously, we can look just like Gideon did, an imperfect person who through God did something incredible. We've got one more worship song that we're going to sing together. So I'm going to invite you to stand to your feet, get those muscles ready to move, because this is another tough one. And I'll see you on the other side.
When I'm in the roughest water, to something good. Even through the deepest valley, you go before me, you are here. For I know you'll never leave me, your love surrounds me, I won't fear. When I'm broken and down to nothing, I know that you are always up to something good. I know that you are always up to something good. You'll make a way, whatever it takes. There's nothing your love won't endure. I know that you are always up to something good. Through the darkest night, you are on my side. You are always faithful. Through my fear and doubt, you will lead me out. You are always able. Through the darkest night, you are on my side. You are always faithful. Through my fear and doubt, you will lead me out. I know that you are always up to something good. I know that you are always up to something good. You'll make a way, whatever it takes. There's nothing your love won't endure. I know that you are always up to something good. You'll make a way, whatever it takes. There's nothing your love won't endure. I know that you are always up to something good.
Don't forget our verse for the year. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Don't be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. Thanks everyone for joining us at chapel this morning. Can't wait to see you all again really soon. Bye now.